we're going live over here. So,
all right.
Good evening, everyone. I am Daylon over here, Design Educator based in Singapore and founder of CuriousCore. We do two things really well over here. We help mid-career professionals transition to a role of a UX designer, and we help enterprises upskill their workforce in terms of design thinking, digital skills, and integrate design and human-centered design practice into their culture and what they do. So that's all we do. And we've been running this series for a while now, since May, on a weekly basis, just to help the community, especially in Southeast Asia and the region, to learn more about user experience design, and for anyone who is interested as well, including product people, engineers, business people, you're all welcome here. And thank you for taking the next hour to spend your time with us. I have with me Sigit. I've known Sigit for a while now. In fact, some years ago, we worked together on a startup. Not that we founded the startup, it's just that we happened to be in the same team. And Sigit's actually from Indonesia, but when I met him, he was already working in Singapore. So Sigit's a design manager with a passion in solving real-world problems and making social impact through experience design. He currently has over 13 years of work experience in UX, including e-commerce, which includes Bukalapak, which is one of the Indonesia's largest e-commerce platforms. And currently he's in Shopify as a senior product designer. He has previously also been in DBS Bank and has worked with Expedia as well, and worked with different clients. So he's someone who's really passionate about designing the design process and being an individual contributor for a number of years and a people manager for 4 years. And he definitely believes that a quality portfolio is important in this landscape if you want to do user experience design. So tonight we're going to break the section into two. We have two very brave souls, and I really commend their effort, reaching out and saying, hey, I don't mind letting my portfolio be reviewed. So we're going to review their portfolio in the first half an hour or so. And then after that, I'll get Sigit to show his portfolio and share with you his process of structuring his portfolio and planning for it. So we get additional insights and not just, what went wrong, but also what does good look like, essentially. So Sigit, over to you. I'll handle the administrative end here. Anything else to add?
No, I think you summed it up perfectly. Thank you for the intro.
Awesome. So great. I am going to leave it to you to continue. Let's start with the first portfolio. Who should we go with first?
I think I have Isabel Koh.
Yeah, Isabel's here. One. So great. So
I'm going to share my screen.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it. I will put back
okay,
the speaker wheel.
Let me know. I think I assume everybody can see my screen right now.
Yeah, I can see your screen. It's all good.
Okay. Cool. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you, definitely thank you, Daylon, for giving me this opportunity to interact with you guys and review a few portfolios. So I guess I'm just going to share. I'm going to have like a disclaimer beforehand. Like I in no way I know like what the perfect portfolio looks like. Even my own portfolio is constantly revising. It's not like the end of the world if you feel like the portfolio is not enough. It will never be enough. So my principle has always been like you have to understand like the audience of your portfolio and the purpose of a portfolio first before you actually create something. Much like if we design a UX or a product. So for me personally, you guys can share like your opinions as well on this. So for me, portfolio is a marketing tool for myself, like as a designer. So first and foremost, it's a marketing tool. And depending on what you want to achieve and who you want to attract, you have to tailor that audience. You have to tailor your portfolio towards that audience. So I assume like if I have open here Isabel Cove website, without Isabel, you can also clarify, but like my first impression is that you are an all-round product design, end-to-end product designer. But in some cases, you can see like much of the focus will be in certain areas. For example, it could be like researcher, or maybe like it's more like a visual design, iconography. But if I see here, my first impression is, because you say like I design, engineer, and facilitate user experiences, I feel like you want to express yourself to be like an end-to-end product designer. For me, I think this is a pretty good standard way to present, like intro yourself, who you are. In my experience, I also struggle with like introducing myself, what I am, because like what kind of things do you specialize in, or what kind of things do you focus on? There's no harm in like doing that, instead of like being more generic, like I'm a designer. But it's also like, based on your experience so far, what are you most interested in, what are you most passionate about, and what are you most skilled in? So if you say that you design and engineer, I think that's already pretty good, because you are not only you design, but you also engineer some of the aspects of the experience. What I think that should be clear enough is like facilitate. What does that mean? Is it like facilitate, like maybe like design thinking process, or some other things? So I think we need to clarify on that. And then coming down to my works here, so there is no certain like how many works that you have to present at the very front. Sometimes I do, like in the past, I also did like nine portfolios. But as I grow as a designer, I feel like I need to focus on less, but more impactful and more depth in my work. So I think 3 will be like a good thing. Even like I also had a chance to discuss with with other peers, and also a more senior designer. Like they advised me, if you only have like 1 or 2 case study or like a portfolio, that's also fine, as long as you can go in depth into that. So I think like if you believe like the 3 here are more than enough to showcase your best work. So the key is best work. I think it's already good. Probably what I would fix in this is to be more contextual and more relevant. Not relevant, sorry, more contextual in terms of, more specific in terms of the title. For example, like web database or e-commerce or web navigation, I think we could say something like you can say like the name of the project or the name of the company that you're working with. Or maybe if you cannot disclose the company or the project, you can just say like a generic, maybe like solving web navigation for like a educational institution, for example, or like maybe trying to improve discoverability of X in an educational website, for example. So if we come here to the details page, I feel like this title is much better than the one in the front, because it at least it says something about the context. Although I still, as a designer, I know what microscopy mean, but for like lay people, or maybe like for recruiters, they probably don't know what it is. So I think I suggest like we also use layman's terms, like as much as possible, simple language. Because the main focus of this is to actually communicate what you're doing to, say, like recruiters, or like maybe like a business person, or maybe like a product manager who eventually will hire you. In terms of structuring your case study, so okay, like there's so many ways to present a portfolio. Like if you're like a visual designer, you probably want to have more visuals in it. But if you're an end-to-end product designer, I think like you need to have like a storytelling kind of structure where it doesn't have to be like very formal, but um, something that sets you up, sets the context up for people who read it. So for example, here I think it's already really really good. Like you're starting with a challenge, and then you're continuing with roles, like what your role is. I think it's really important because no UX project is like a one-man show. It will be a team sport. So it's important to mention what your role is. And then what comes next is actually pretty flexible, but I like to try to tell a story. Like for example, like after roles, usually what I do is more like what the problem is. But it's not wrong to present the solution right away, because sometimes people don't have so much time. You can like Isabel here, you can immediately show the solution, because if that's like what people want to see first, then fair enough. And then yeah, the process. Okay, so the process is basically I think it's an important piece of the case study. I would say maybe if you show, okay, yeah, you can call it a process or like methodology. It doesn't really matter, but maybe in this case, this sounds like a more generic process, but maybe we can tie up to some like real stories behind the project. For example, if you say discover, conducted stakeholder interviews, understand the problem was at a broad level, maybe you could mention something like who are the people you interview with, like specifically, not names, maybe just the job titles, or maybe the type of person, or the stakeholder. And then like define, maybe you could show like some real, I don't know, artifact from that interview. And then paper sketches. Yeah, maybe you could also show like some real paper sketches as well here. And deliver, yeah, basically it's the result of it. Oh, okay, you actually already shown it, sorry. So yeah, I think this is really important to go in depth in this, and yeah, using a code like this is pretty good actually. Define, okay. Okay. So this is pretty good actually, to be honest. The insights gathered from our users help direct build the foundation content. Okay.
Yeah. It's really structured, I think.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, I thought like it was not like going through each step here, but I think Isabel, you're really good at this already.
What do you think are your first impressions, Sigit? Like what do you sense as you're looking at this?
I guess depending on what my role is, like for example, if I'm a recruiter, so right. I would say, like if the job description is for me to look for end-to-end experience, yep, I would probably go like all the way down to see what kind of like result from the beginning, and then the process, and then the result. But if I'm looking for somebody who is really strong at visual design, maybe I will just focus on the results and see like the visual design here. So that's that.
Where would you place her? Do you think she's more like a generalist UX designer, or do you think she's also good with the visual stuff? Or I mean on a junior stage, right? Because she's just starting out. She just did a career conversion.
Right. So I think my first impression was Isabel is an end-to-end product designer. And it's also important to note like what specific part of the UI that she designed. Is it like the whole thing, or maybe she just handled like one part of it? So it's important to take note of that, because what I think is that in some teams they have specific visual designers working together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, if you want to take a break, I can take over and share some thoughts as well.
Oh yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Cool. All right. Hi, Isabel. By the way, thank you for allowing us to critique your portfolio. And this is just for learning purposes as well. And everyone here is here to learn, right? So take whatever you feel is useful and make what makes sense to you, and use it to improve your portfolio. And I hope you get a good job out of this session as well. So first of all, Sigit, if you don't mind, let's go to contact page.
Contact page, okay.
Yeah. So Isabel, I feel like there's a lot of missing things that are on this page itself. First of all, I'll just say that the links that you have on this page are not hyperlinked, right? That is a big mistake as a UX designer. Especially, this is one of the most common complaints that we hear from recruiters, is that designers do not link their CVs with a hyperlink. So in their own CVs, they don't have a hyperlink to their website. So you can't expect a recruiter to type it out for you. And some recruiters will refuse to do that. So it's good if you want people to check out your LinkedIn, do link it up. If you want people to email you, if you can save them the step of copy and pasting, that's also good. Okay, I'm not sure how you feel about images about yourself, but I think this is the page where if you're talking about yourself, it will really help just to share an image of yourself and who you are as a person and how you work, just to give people an idea, because people don't just hire you for your skills, but they also hire you for your personality as well. So they want to see if you're a good culture fit in the team. So I feel there's quite a number of elements that are not very obvious to me, like the fact that you were a mechanical engineer and all that. Like I feel like some of these elements can show through a little bit more rather than just having text over that. So perhaps you can tell the story through images and complement it with images a little bit more. This will be my advice to you. If we were to go back to the specific project, thank you, Sigit. So if let's say we were to go, any of the projects, I guess. I feel in general it's very well structured, like your process, and I think that really shows because you're an engineer as well. And I feel that there is some documentation. Do you mind sharing, like, did you also do the illustrations, or you kind of got it from stock? Or
no, the illustrations were taken.
Okay, got it. And is this an actual client project, or is something you just assign yourself?
So this particular project was not a client project. It was just a project that was part of the study course that I took.
Okay, understood. So I think that's also a problem with such case studies, is that it doesn't have the results, right? We're just working with an ideal scenario in mind. We can't really, we don't have the client's feedback, for example. I'm not sure how extensive you did, so you may have to compensate by mentioning all the user research that you did. I do feel like in general, as I look at your research, one question really pops up to my mind is that your research doesn't answer the so what question, right? So what is about what I see what you observe, I see what you did, but it doesn't say what I should do as a result of the research. So I think if you need some help around that, you can watch Erica Hall's talk on just enough research, or you can get her book. That's definitely one book I recommend. In order to present it a little bit better, as a researcher, our primary job is to present actionable insights to the team, whether it's to the design team or to the business team. So that is definitely necessary. So I see you have that competency to be a UX designer. It's just I I don't think you're showing that potential yet in this portfolio, at least. One of the other things, if I could share with you, I feel whatever Sigit has shared with you is definitely very relevant. Like he mentioned, you should mention what is your role in the project and how many people are in your team. Even little details like how many people did you interview, right? What was the research scope of its own? What were the research methods that you chose, right? And why did you choose those research methods? I think that will really also help share a little bit more of your experience and your understanding of the methodologies, and not just like you're following the process itself. So that's what I felt that was missing. So in terms of visually how it's presented in this information, I have two comments. I'll say it's very structured. The white space is just nice. I think you have a good sense of giving space to objects. However, I do feel that in terms of what's missing in this page is the human element. Whether it's documentation of your team members or documentation of the interviews that you did, that's kind of like missing. And I also sense that throughout your site as well. So it feels very clinical as you're presenting it. So I hope you bring a little bit more of that human element, either through the images or the photography that you're going to use. And one question in terms of just rearranging the visual hierarchy and re-looking at the visual hierarchy of how you present this particular case study, I'd like you to ask yourself this question. What do you want to get across in 2 to 3 minutes? If, let's say, assuming that your hiring manager only has 2 to 3 minutes to look at your entire portfolio, what are the key things you want to get across? Because reading this entire case study is going to take me at least 5 minutes, and I may not have the time to do that. So if you can allow certain things to pop out a little bit more, say the challenge, I think it should pop out, right? The basic structure of storytelling is the problem, and then what did you discover, and what was the insights, and then what did you ultimately research on? What if you conducted a test, what were the test results, and how did you refine and all that stuff? So follow that story structure, tell it within 2 to 3 minutes, and let those elements pop out a little bit more. So you need to rearrange that visual hierarchy. So now that you're going to become a professional UX designer, all these little details do matter. So that's my general feedback. But I really think it's a good effort, and I do feel like if you could have maybe 1 or 2 extra projects, it will really help, because the third one in your portfolio is linked to a site, and I don't know what's going on. Yeah. Sigit, any other additional thoughts before we move on?
No, I think you summed it up perfectly, like as a whole. And I agree with you. Like, I think like the contact page, I thought the purpose was to contact you directly. It's not like really an about page. So I think maybe you could put like this info at home, actually. Maybe like a separate section here, like explaining maybe in a more concise way, like who you are. I mean, not really about what you do specifically, but also about who you are, like a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Isabel, any thoughts on this before we move on to the next portfolio?
First of all, thank you so much. I think as you guys spoke, things got much clearer for me. Things that I didn't realize myself, but then actually it's so true. I mean, like I should make these changes. So it's really good that it was pointed out. I will definitely make these changes.
Yeah, I feel like, I'm just looking at your LinkedIn profile. You have a master degree in engineering. Like, if you could really let that come through a little bit more, that would be attractive to some companies, especially if, let's say, you're applying for a company that deals with engineers and or maybe like products that are well engineered. I'm sure they'll really appreciate a designer who understands engineering. So just let that come through a little bit more, and then that really presents your strength naturally. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Good luck, Isabel. Shall we go to
Good
the
luck,
next one?
Isabel.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one, Cheryl Wong.
Okay.
So so yeah, I've seen a lot of designers sending in a Behance portfolio. I never personally used it, but I think I suspect that it's because indeed it's really tough to set up your own website. Also, I think there's a lot of like easy tools out there right now, but either they are expensive or maybe they take a little while to set up. So I can totally understand like why some portfolios are made in Behance, but I would recommend to if you're really serious about like product design or UX design, I really recommend you to set up your own website with your own domain. That way it looks way more professional, and it shows that you are actually really serious about your yourself and your work. But anyway, this is a good start. What I see here is actually okay. I am a designer who is enthusiastic about colors. I love using them in different forms of design, ranging from interior design, product and external design. So I want to know at the very first, like what kind of designer are you? So you need to focus on like one thing that you're really good at, and one profession that you really want to follow. If it's like interior design, by all means, you should show like interior design, and then maybe like some side projects in other areas of design. That's fine, but like what is the main purpose of your profession? Like, is it like UX or interior? So I would recommend maybe like just if you're focusing on UX, I think you should just focus on like these 3 portfolios. Let's dive into each. So yeah, the thing about like Behance portfolio is that like it's a long image, so it's really hard to like to jump into a copy, or maybe to point out or maybe search even that page for certain things. Also, usually they are pretty laid out well. In terms of structure, I think this is good. This is similar to Isabel, and I feel like the way you structure it is even more like a bit more structured, even more granular, I would say. For example, you have you have like the goal here, and then you have the specific to user research, and then the process, and then you also what I like about this is actually you show like some of the iterations. I think that's really important. Not only show like the end result, but also the iteration, and like also the interaction design here is really good. It's really cool. Instead of just like showing static, I think it's probably better if you like could show like a bit of like animated version of this. It will help a lot better tell the story. And also like this one, I think it's really good because you understand systems. You understand like how things should sort of like behave. Yeah, like even like some scenarios, like what if user accidentally click on arrive? So this is like a good what do you call it, like a scenario that you fall into when there's like something wrong. So this is good. How the system will catch the some of the things that if they go wrong. I would say similar to like the previous portfolio, I would say you should include like the team that you're working with, because I don't see it here. The role that you're the role that you had, and then the teams that you are in, like what their roles are, and then how you work together. So I would say should include that at the very least. The second app, food recipe app. So yeah, I begin to see a system. So this is good because you see like this one and the other one, actually they are laid out similarly. So if I see a system, I know what to expect. So that's a good thing for recruiters because, for example, if they've seen one, they know what to expect in the second one and they can go faster here. Yeah, so it's also, as I mentioned before, it's also okay to show the end result first and then you go into the story. It's kind of like an opening in a movie, and then you go through the story. User research, I think you put a lot of emphasis on user research, but I agree with Daylon. I think we should be more specific into like the so what here. And I actually like the real quotation here because I feel like it's more personal for us to see these quotes rather than just summarizing it. It's really strong. Persona. So yeah, I understand like persona could be useful, but I would say it's probably better to yeah, it's a pros and cons because some experts believe that persona is not really helpful at all, since they are like we tend to make up this persona instead of looking at real person. So it's better if we could like from all the users that we have right now, we can sort of like encapsulate them into like certain buckets. For example, when I work at Expedia, we did persona, but we took a look at our users. Like, for example, if they are the majority of your users are actually living in cities, then we take a look at them and we formulate that in a bucket instead of like just making it up.
Yeah.
So,
Sigit, is it okay if I add something about personas?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the thing about personas, and it's important not to forget the purpose of it. It's to actually create empathy with actual users or a group of users. And I'll say a really successful persona is one where you read it and you get someone else to read it and they can tell you, hey, I know someone like that in my personal network or my social network. I think that I mean, chances are they do, right? And that really tells you put in enough details in the persona, and that's a bit of a character that's coming out. And definitely do not just include information just for the sake of including that information. You have stuff that's contextual. And I think sometimes it really shows like whether you've done enough research or you actually asked deep enough questions just based on the personas that you produce. And I encourage you to look at more senior designers, and if they're putting personas in their portfolio, what exactly do they put, right? And just kind of reverse engineer and think about, hey, what kind of questions should I be asking in my user interviews to get that kind of insights? So that's just something I like to add on persona. Sigit, you can go on.
Yeah. Thank you, Daylon. Yeah, I agree that. So yeah, design process. I think like in this part, I think you need to like elaborate a bit more. Like we have a range of users ranging from lazy to proactive and wanting to cook. I think we need to elaborate this a little bit more. Because you sort of like jump into final design here. I think, okay. For me personally, I think so it depends on the purpose of your website. If it's like just a teaser into the whole process, probably you can do this, but probably like just a little bit of more information. But what I usually do is that if you present something to somebody, I think it's best if you can have a more complete version of the story, maybe in a separate PDF or a separate Google slide. But at least maybe like put some context here. and avoid that impression of jumping into conclusion. Okay, I think like UI wise, I think you've done a really good job at this app. Probably what's helpful is if you want to show the interaction design, it will be much better to tell the story in animated version, for example. Of course, you cannot do it in on Behance. That's why I think it's much better to have like a proper website set up so that people can properly see the end result. Oh, okay. One thing that I forgot to mention with Isabel as well. So I think increasingly, like designers are measured by the impact that they have done through their designs. So it's also my I also lack that currently. Like when you interview with a company, increasingly you are demanded to show, hey, what kind of metric did you measure against, and how did this design achieve that impact, like according to that metrics? So it's useful if, for example, you've done something like this, and then based on the metrics that you mentioned in the beginning of the case study, for example, adoption, or maybe like signups or something like that, and then how did it impact the whatever metrics that you mentioned. It can be difficult, but I think it's one important thing to take into account. Yeah, Dale, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, happy to say. Well, Christopher from the audience has a question. When you say to mention metrics, he's asking do you mean like key performance indicators or OKRs?
So OKRs and KPIs are such a different. They are so different. OKRs are more like sometimes it's a more visionary. It's not specific to like conversion, for example. So I would say metrics can be anything, but I think it's better to be specific. For example, if you like even like one feature, like you're redesigning the onboarding flow of an app, like you can say in the beginning what kind of metrics that we are measuring against. For example, maybe successful sign up, or maybe successful adoption, or maybe lead to duration of like people to sign up, for example, right? So depending on that goal, you rally to that goal, and then you create a design, and then by the end of it, you sort of like measure it against it. So it can be as granular as just that. But I think like if you're measuring against OKR, I think sometimes it will be even too big to show in a portfolio.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think what Sigit meant in terms of the metric to measure is the product metric, right? So if let's say if you're designing an e-commerce or a shopping app, the key metric is sales, right? And what leads to sales is basically average order value, right? Conversion rate, and the amount of traffic and that's coming in. So what we then optimize for as e-commerce designers, because that's what I used to do, is to optimize for conversion rate, and to optimize for add to cart action, and to optimize for average order value, right? The total cart value, in fact. So that will be some of the key objectives as a product designer for e-commerce. I'm sure other projects over here, there are various product metrics. So I think to answer the question on product metrics is something you need to work with an actual business stakeholder, and they can tell you, hey, this is what I really care about, and then the design team then decides from a usability perspective, how are we going to optimize it and deliver on that promise. So maybe for the food recipe app, it's about number of people wish listing it or liking it, or I don't know if there's some social element to it, right? So that perhaps is the metric that's being optimized. To add on Cheryl's portfolio, I think Sigit covered a lot, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. I'm actually interested to hear what Sigit has to share for his own portfolio. But I have one feedback for you. and that is if you can show the competitive analysis in your portfolio. I'm asking you to do that for your portfolio because I need to know what is your baseline, right? I need to know if I were to compare it with other similar products out there, how is that usability pattern that you suggest, say, for the driving app better? Or how is this, say, better than Burple, right? For example, like, have you thought, have you actually researched on that? And have you actually improve or added anything new that shows that you are thoughtful as a designer? And I think that's really important to show. I've been looking at your architecture work and I've been looking at your profile as well. I mean, you're interior designer. So I think you have a good sense of visuals and the there is also a good sense of thoughtfulness and interior design. I just feel like you're not really showing it in your digital work, and I hope that comes through a little bit more. So I don't think it's a problem of capabilities and competency. I do believe you're competent. It's just like how can you show that you are someone who's a thoughtful designer that's worth hiring, and that just requires a little bit more think through on how you present your portfolio, and really just to show your strength, right? Because your interior design portfolio looks stronger right now, and if I'm looking at it even by proportion, right, you have more interior design projects than UX design projects. I'm gonna still hire you for interior design than UX design, right? So I think it's a very hard thing to lose your old identity, and I'm fully aware of that process as a coach, helping some of my coaching clients lose their, say, ex-visual designer identity. They have to kind of like destroy or kind of like let go of like years and years of like good work, right? I think another way to think about it is you can structure a different portfolio for your interior design work and a portfolio for your UX design work. And then depending on who asks for it, send them to a different link. All right, I hope that would help you, and maybe also prepare 2 sets of CVs. If let's say you're still deciding to straddle between these two. Yeah, that's all from me. Cheryl, you have anything to share with us? Or
Okay, so background about me is recent graduate in interior design. So then I want to move into UX design. So all the projects there are self-learn and my own project, and only the driver's app is the company's one of the internship project.
Yeah, I can see the driver's app is actually one of your stronger pieces of work. It looks very well thought through, and I see it as being very unique because I haven't seen a case study like that, because you're talking about usability patterns, right? Especially for the users you're designing for. So yeah, I think it's one of your better case studies. If you're telling me you did this through being self-taught, I think the effort is really commendable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you might want to add? Like, was this like helpful for you?
The feedback was quite helpful.
And once again, I mean, Cheryl, please don't take this the wrong way. We're all here to learn. I think this is a really good start, and you seem to be right on track to becoming a UX designer, if this is really what you want to specialize and focus in. I feel that even as you grow your career, your interior design skills can also come back to help you at some point in time if you're designing transitions between physical and digital experiences, which is getting pretty common as well. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Cheryl. Shall we go to Sigit's portfolio? I'm sure all of you are wondering how he structured his own. So I'll just leave it to you, Sigit.
Yeah, so I will probably just start by like yeah, like the disclaimer that I had before, like I don't really know like what's a good portfolio looks like, because in my experience, it also depends on the company that you're applying for and then the people looking at your portfolio.
Sigit,
So
could I ask, is this the portfolio that got you hired in Shopify?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's all I needed to hear. Okay.
Okay, I probably like want to show you like an evolution of my portfolio. Like I have 2 versions of it just to probably encourage like, okay, this is like the journey I'm going through when I was a more junior one. um, so like I would say like this is like the first real version of my portfolio when I got hired in Singapore at DBS. So back then I had a couple of projects that I already had in my past work. Like I already put DBS here but previously it was not like that. So my goal here is actually to like present my work in a more like visual way. Like my newer latest version is really not really like visual like this. But if you are like if you want to give like a breadth of work, to give impression that you have a breadth of work already, you can put something like a gallery format like this. So and the first thing that I would do usually is to introduce myself, and then what I specifically passionate about. It doesn't have to be, I know, like I said before, like if you want to focus on certain things you should say, but for me, like I'm an end-to-end product designer, so I want to be more nuanced in it. Like, okay, what kind of thing that I want to work on? Like for me, it's like solving human problems, basically. Like, or maybe I could frame it like solving problems for humans. And then when you click on more about me, you can see like myself there, and I want to project myself as somebody who actually is also I also care about like sharing and giving to other designers. So this is like one opportunity that I had to share with the team in Bukalapak back in 2016, and then briefly I just go through like what my work history is like, and then link to some of my personal projects, which no longer there, fortunately, and then like a bit of like trivia for the website. Like I usually run my website on WordPress because that's my preferred way of doing. Although it takes like a lot of time to do. Like usually I just spend like 3 months just working on a single website like this, and keep coming back and coming back. And at the same time, I'm also learning CSS to actually do the theming myself. And then you can also link to like a LinkedIn profile. In terms of like each of the projects, how it's structured, pardon me, it's like I think 5 years old already. So for me, I don't have like so much to offer here actually, but what I see is that I want to introduce the project as it is, and then my role, like I work with business analysts, technology, project managers, and designers, and then what the goals are for this project. Challenges, I think I should have put like a bit of background. So I think it's a learning process on how you introduce yourself and your work process. And then like, for example, like the sections of user research that I did, I documented here. And then some of the iterations, like the wireframes as well, like some of the iteration for the final UI. So like the final result is like this. So actually, I'm proud to say that it's still used and up to this point. And also like the breadth of the visual designs, and also some other deliverables like style guides. So that's a brief thing. And then also if you have like a blog or like maybe your thoughts, you can also put your blog here. So I think it's important for designers to also share their thoughts. Now you can share it on Medium, but I think it's important for you to also have something internally. So I also like kind of like had like a free when I was new to Sketch. Actually, not free. You had to buy it back then, but I don't think anybody will buy it again right now. So I made my own like wireframe kit for other designers. So I think it's also a good way to like okay, you're passionate about, is to show that you're passionate about something, is to make something or make even for free to share with other designers, in the hope that they will feel like you're helping them, and then it contributes back to your like personal brand. So this is like my portfolio from 2015 to 2018, I guess, or 2019. And then like last year, I think I worked on like this newer version. I'm still iterating it basically. So I used to have my photo here, but when I was looking for a job earlier this year, I felt like maybe my main page should show a bit of my work instead of myself. So I made like this little collage of the things I work on. And then I used to have like a bit of CV here, but I changed it a couple of weeks ago to just show a brief summary of who I am. And then you can also download the CV here.
Sigit, I
And then
want to
some
give
of
you a
the-
plug as well. I mean, you
Yeah, sure.
mentioned in your profile you do a one-on-one podcast with Indonesian designers. So is that still going
sure.
on?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Awesome. All right.
So-
So yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, this podcast and also YouTube, like one-on-one, is only, unfortunately, only in Indonesian and only for Indonesian designers, because I feel like
I think that's great.
there's
man.
there's a lot of things to learn locally that we don't even recognize. But I have some good feedback from other for designers from other countries as well. Can you put like a subtitle in it so that at least we can understand what's being said?
I'm gonna share the link here because I know we have some friends from Indonesia who are tuning in and dialing in. So
Yeah.
just gonna share the link over here in chat.
Yeah, it's
wonderful.
design1on1.net. Yeah, I think it's important to have like personal projects like this to just like sharing. Like I think one of the traits that I appreciate from designers that I hired was like if they have passion for sharing. So I think that's really important. Okay, in terms of like case study, so I intentionally not call it portfolio because I feel like I wanted to focus more on case studies. So as you will find out that as you grow as a designer, you want to tell more of the background of the story and the details of the story. I would choose, I have like a couple of like portfolio here, but I intentionally just choose like 3, Verbo, DBS, and Bukalapak, because I feel like even like Bukalapak is really old. I feel like that was really meaningful to me, and it has one of the like end-to-end work that I did. Because if you are so the thing is, if you're working for a startup, use that opportunity to work end-to-end, because oftentimes if you're working for a corporate like DBS or like even like Verbo, Expedia, for example, you don't get to own like anything end-to-end, so you will just focus on certain kind of feature or portfolio. But it's not something to worry about. At least you have to tell a bit of the story. So what I do with some of this is because I didn't really have time to do a proper page like DBS, for example. It's also possible for you to have like a PDF of the things that you work on that single company. For example, I shared this PDF to Shopify and then I ran them through some of my key highlights, because they care about like depth more than more than like a variety of it. So of course, like there's a lot of things going on here, so I need to choose again like which project that I need to focus on. For example, when I interviewed with Shopify, they were looking for somebody who is experienced in localization, because they were building the APAC team. And so I would focus more on the globalization and localization portfolio at Verbo. And what that entails is actually is how we localize the Verbo platform for Japan. Sorry, this is a really huge portfolio, but I don't present everything. I just choose one. Yeah, like this, for example, how we did user research in Japan, and then how we did the research and the findings and the actions that correspond to that findings. And then the deliverable don't have always to be like a UI. What we did was we also offer a design playbook internally for Japan, so that every other designer in the future who works on that project for Japan, they can benefit from this. And you can go even into details like what you did, like you recommended to change the address format, or maybe how you structure the checkout page, and then like how you localize that particular page for a Japanese language. So that's a lot of things. But what I found useful is that you have to build that context and tell the story. And as an encapsulating opening, actually, I also introduced myself a bit, like what my career looks like in the past, starting from when I began my career in 2007, and it's a really long one. And then like throughout my tenure at the company, what kind of problem are we solving and who are our customers? So I think if already like 3 years or 4 years in a single company, you have to know like really deep down what the problems are and who the customer or the users you are solving for. And even I highlighted like my career at Verbo, like why like in 2017, for example, what did I work on, like a major theme. And then the team, I go into details like a process, like even like we sort of like, it's not an agile, it's like sort of like a waterfall, but it's okay if you like, if the company is like that, you should say that. So we divided the process into thinking and doing, and then each of this has like details. For example, like understanding the problem has like a business goal, and then user goal, and then any like carryover from last 90 days. And then what you do to empathize, maybe like do design sprint or design thinking workshops or generative research. And then ideate, you can do like a design sprint, and then design explorations, and then build, you can work together with prototypers or engineers to design the interface and test it. And then by the end, measure what kind of like things you do to measure against. And then even I outlined how our design team is organized so that they know the full context of the team that I'm working. Because I was a manager back then, so I need to show how I understand the organization as well as a whole. And even like deep down into like a project, how the project team is structured, and then where we are and who are responsible for what. And then the overarching like theory, not theory, an overarching journey of like the specific customer that I'm working for, who is traveler, the customers who book on our site to travel.
Sigit, can I pause you for a while?
Yeah, sure.
Let me ask the audience this question. How many of you think this is gold? Like, how many of you think this is like super useful? Like what Sigit is sharing, just like an entire like history of his work at Expedia. Like, if you think it's useful, please comment and please put it in chat. If really no one thing is useful, then I think we can wrap it up. Right? Yeah,
it's not
like years of his work, like, and the entire process, just like presenting it to you. Hey, this is portfolio gold. If you all want like a good reference on how to like share localization of your work and how to share your work, especially in the Asia Pacific context, I don't think I've seen anything like that. So Sigit, thank you for like putting all of this out there, man. Like I don't know about the legality and about like, and whether you can share it, but I really appreciate it. I think there's just so much over here.
Yeah, so like what I show here is actually their ship. So so I think that's really fine. And also it's not like a high res thing. So please don't take screenshots of anything here.
But it's on your public site, what? No?
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah. Oh dear. Okay.
Yes. I mean, this is like pretty much public, and
Yeah.
and I've actually like I had the permission to share.
Okay,
But
that's
if
great.
you want, if you want to like dig deeper into this, you can visit my website and see. But basically, all of these are already shipped, or they are already like old projects that was like just ended.
I think
like
it's
that.
really great. It's such a valuable piece of work, and it really shows that you did good work while you were here. I can see why Shopify decided to hire you. It's very evident on your portfolio. Wait, is Aditi your colleague?
Oh, he's my manager. She's my manager. Yeah.
Oh right, so Aditi is your manager. Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get Aditi to come speak sometime. I think she has very high standards, so I can see why you met her standards. So this is great. We want to take one or two questions if there's any questions from the crowd. I mean, you can all go through Sigit's portfolio. Obviously, the advantage Sigit has over here is that he has experience, so he has more work to show. Most of you here are just starting out, so you need to be very particular about how you pick. But even just looking at his last case study and how he presents it and the depth of how he presents it, it really shows, right? Versus like all the case studies I've seen. Does anyone have questions for our talented speaker here, Sigit?
Hi, I've got a question to ask, if that's okay.
Yes, of course, go ahead.
All right. I was just wondering, because a lot of the work that I showcased is all relating to the user or the actual product. And I think increasingly in organizations, you find yourself in a role of really kind of like aligning the team or facilitating certain discussions in order to get to a central point, especially for companies which are not very UX mature, I would say. So how should you package such activities? For example, if you really ran alignment workshops and you ran, basically really those discussions and you drive or initiate that discussion. So how should you put that or display that as part of your work? Should it be within the product page, or should it be like as a separate thing?
Then before we answer, could you give us some context? Like maybe what are you doing and what are you aiming to kind of like present yourself as?
Yeah, sure. So, I am actually considered a junior designer at like my company. I've only been working here for about 1.5 years. But increasingly, like I mentioned, I really find myself in a position, not only working on the product itself, but like quite a bit of my time is really spent on getting them to even understand what UX I think really means and what does it mean to do proper UX research and stuff like that. So
thanks for sharing the context. I think what you're mentioning is what we do in design facilitation. And it's essentially evangelizing design within the organization and helping people understand the value of design. It's not uncommon what you do. My next question then is, is it something you like to continue doing and growing into? Because there are design facilitator roles in larger organizations, for example, like DBS, right? There are specialized roles in that.
Frankly speaking, I am not sure. to be straight with you, I'm not sure.
So, so I guess if I hear you correctly, you're asking like how should that kind of work be presented in your portfolio?
Should I choose to package myself that way? If that's a better way of putting it. Yeah.
It's definitely helpful, especially when you're especially when you get into a managerial position that you have had experience facilitating design workshops for senior stakeholders. That definitely is something useful and helpful. Do you have to show it visually in your portfolio? It could be on your about page. that could work. I think as a manager or as a design facilitator, it's about culture change. It's about mindset change. It's about like how did that session lead to the result or help the team, do better design. If you want to tell a story on that, I don't see why not. And if there are some screens to go along with it, that's great as well. If there isn't, then that's fine. But as I ask you, it really depends on what is your next role. If you're saying, hey, I want to be more like a design facilitator, then great, like share more projects on that. But if not, I think just having one story or one project is good enough to show that you're capable and competent in doing that. What do you think, Sigit?
Yeah, I think there's also a question around what do you show if you are a researcher, for example, and also if you're a manager. So I think I agree that a portfolio doesn't have to be about like visual designs or like product design. Like if you are projecting yourself as a facilitator, definitely I think you have to show some history, like maybe what you did in past opportunities. It can be through like text usually, but I feel like if you want to show visuals, like Daylon said, it's okay. Maybe some workshops, pictures, or like some testimonial, or maybe some videos. I think that will really helpful. Or maybe just share your thoughts. And I think one of the things that I value is like if you can write your experience in a blog or something, I think it could build your like at least it built your perspective, and also other people can read it and they understand what you mean.
Yeah. Hope we answered your question. And any other questions before we end the call tonight? Okay. If not, can I just get... Oh, wait, hang on. Christopher Kim. I was a technical product manager making a transition to a UX designer. I was wondering how would my skills transfer into the field? I guess I'll answer this question then. I was a product manager. So, okay. So, Chris, I think it really depends what kind of team you're joining, like whether and how mature that team is in their design practice. So I feel that as someone who was a product manager at Razer and at Aviva and a few places, I think what really helps in transitioning in terms of transferable skill set is the ability to understand the strategic map of the project itself and how it delivers on the business outcomes, right? So I think definitely if you want to showcase your strength as a UX designer, focus more on that aspect, like how did the design support the strategy, or how or even how you propose the strategy, right, in order to enhance the metrics that were set by the team. So it really shows your strength as a product designer. And then it's the next thing to ask is like, what kind of products do you do, and what kinds of products have you done as a product manager, and how has that experience either with the users or with the market? How does that sort of like transfer to what you do or what you would like to do as a designer? Any additional thoughts, Sigit?
Yeah, so I think like product designer and product manager are like actually close twins. Increasingly, like the roles are like becoming one. So I think it's definitely like even for me, I can probably learn product management and switch to product management role like more easily than like other roles like engineer, for example. So I think definitely you can make it. But I think what's important for like designer is to practice like it's not only like thinking about it, but you have to build the expertise through doing it. So I think it's better if you if you're a product manager now, maybe on the side you can help, or you can do like a freelance project or something and then build the portfolio over time. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for the question, Chris. Okay, Sigit, once again, thank you so much for spending your time. Feel free to hang around for a couple of minutes if you'd like to. I just want to do a short plug for what we're doing over here. If you could unshare your screen, and
sure.
feel free to hang out for a couple of minutes. So, as I mentioned earlier, we have been doing this since May, and the reason why we are doing this is because of COVID and that many of the UX events are canceled. So let's just put it that way. All right. So if you haven't gone to our website to sign up for future webinars, please do so. And I would really appreciate it if you could share about your thoughts or your learnings from the event tonight on social media, just so more people can benefit from your network and understand and learn more about this webinar. So feel free to kind of put that link that I'm putting on chat into the webinar. Next week, we have Cheryl Wong, who is an ex-student of mine, currently working at GovTech. She is going to come and talk about service design and UX design and you know, the similarities and differences of it. So I think that's something we're going to explore in a conversation. And 14 October, we have Sien, who's the ex-UX manager at Zalora, to come have a chat as well. She's also a friend of mine. So, and if you are new to UX and you haven't been exposed to it, you're welcome to join us for our free 1.5-hour intro workshops on 5th of October and 19th of October. Right. So the last thing I'd like you to do, some of you can choose to stay. Sigit, I'm not sure if you have extra 5 to 10 minutes just to interact with the crowd.
Definitely.
Great. So we're going to stop the live stream soon. If you can, I'll ask all of you to just like, before you go, type on the chat, you know, just to thank Sigit for his time. And yeah, I think that would be really, really awesome and how it has benefited you. All right. So that's it from me. Really appreciate everyone coming down today and hearing this talk. Awesome. Thank you, Hyman. Thank you, Christopher. Yay. Thanks, Cynthia, Selena, Jasmine, and Charlene, and Zul, of course.
Thank you, everyone.
Wow, I think quite a number of people from Indonesia attended. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You should make maybe regional like country specific sessions, I guess.
I'm actually trying to go out of Singapore, so that's great. I'm going to start live stream now. Thank you those who are tuning into live stream. Thank you so much. Have a good evening ahead. Yeah.